Next on BYUSN, Cougars are on their way to the Big 12. So why is a national writer still wanting BYU in the Pac-12?
Plus, if you can guarantee one win on BYU's schedule, which would it be and why?
I'm interested to hear that as we welcome you to BYU Sports Nation, presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere. I'm Dave McCann. This is Brian Logan over here, a guy who gave up basketball in the 6th grade. But look at what you've become.
No, I stopped growing then. So
that was it.
I'm 5'6". Actually, depending on which leg I stand on, I'm either 5'5.5" or I'm 5'6". And yeah, I was a baller in elementary.
I believe that.
I was a baller, and then I came into 7th grade, and everybody was massive. Everybody was at least 3-4 inches taller.
That was it.
This is supposedly when you get your growth spurt, right?
Supposedly.
And it skipped me, so I didn't, So I was like, well, I guess I can't play ball.
Well, here we are playing ball on June 22nd, Thursday, best day of the week. Big 12 announced today that BYU basketball coach Mark Pope, men's coach, women's coach Amber Whiting will be 2 of the 11 Big 12 coaches that will be helping lead youth clinics in New York City at Rucker Park mid-July as part of Big 12 Hoops in the Park. Is Brett Yormark thinking about every possible thing he can do to expand the brand?
I think so. You know what I think? I think it's just different from us and what we're used to when it comes to college sports and some of the operations.
Yeah.
And I think this is good, having somebody that's not a part of the industry.
He's out of the box.
Doesn't have any experience, and it may seem out of the box to us, but for him, it's innovative, right? These are just ideas that are flowing to get your brand out there, make more revenue, and I'm all for it. So for us, we're like, wait a minute, this is weird, but it's also cool, but it's also different, and I think more than anything, it's positive. So,
yeah, it's just another thing.
Right.
That looks pretty cool.
Exactly. On today's show, Brian Jensen, play-by-play voice of Texas Tech, will join us. How the BYU women's basketball program is winning in the transfer portal. Why NBA Draft Day is such a memorable day for Cougar legend Danny Ainge, and in our best wins contest, which I don't look forward to, it's old school against new school in a matchup between the past and the present.
Listen, you're out of school. You got to get over it. The results don't lie. So
I didn't even want to come on the show today, to be honest with you.
We'll let you know what Belo's talking about, bemoaning about coming up bit. I'll rise and shout. It's time for What's Trending. BYU joins the Big 12 a week from Saturday. We're closing in. But the Athletic Stewart Mendel, a friend of this show, is still hanging on to a scenario where BYU joins the Pac-12. Here's what he writes, quote, BYU should be in the Pac-12. I know all the reasons it has never happened, but most of the Pac-12 schools already regularly play the Cougars. Geographically, it makes more sense than being in a conference with several Eastern time zone teams. And also, Utah and BYU should be in the same league. They might not agree with that, but they should. So that's his realignment dream scenario. Even as we sit, ready to enter the Big 12, he would like a diversion over to the Pac-12 and maybe help save that league. Is he crazy or is he right?
He's crazy.
Yeah? Why?
As a BYU fan, I don't think as BYU fans we want no part of the Pac-12, based off of the current situation. Now, if this were the case when realignment first happened, I think so. I think it makes sense, right? And we've talked about this for years, even going into independent, that yeah, this does make the most sense, especially with Utah going over to the Pac-12. But as it states right now, like currently, absolutely not. I mean, it's. I think any BYU fan that wants to go into the Pac-12 currently should go and pray and fast.
Listen, they're trying to figure out how to keep their league together. Meanwhile, the Big 12's scheduling basketball camps and parks in New York City.
Right.
They got stuff going on. I think the lure to the Pac-12 was always USC. and nobody else. When BYU would play USC, when they'd play Pac-12 teams, still it was, we would love to be in that league because USC's in that league. Maybe even UCLA for basketball. None of the other schools. And we play Utah every year for the most part, and we'll play them for the next 6, at least on the books. And then we'll see what happens after that, if they stay out of each other's conferences. But when USC went, it changed the dynamic of where you want to be. Yep. And thankfully for BYU, Texas went and Oklahoma went, which allowed them to get to the Big 12, or maybe would be discussing today BYU going to the Pac-12, right? Out of necessity. Remember, BYU was invited to the Pac-12 to help the Big 12 to help the Big 12 survive. Right. Would the scenario be any different today? BYU being invited to the Pac-12 to help the Pac-12 survive. Right. None of them came to our doorstep when they were all high and mighty. That's right. Hey, we need to survive here. Let's go call those guys. The Big 12 called BYU first.
You know, what's interesting is, you know, we got rejected, right? When it came to the Pac-12. And
even the Big 12 initially was like, yeah, we're going to look at you. Now we're going to just stay where we're
right. And you know, when you are a child of God, rejection is not really rejection. Rejection is God's protection. So we kind of, I feel, got protected by being rejected and denied into the Pac-12, even initially the Big 12, because of how everything unfolded. We became more valuable, more of an asset after being rejected, right? Because, like you said, the Big 12 was, you know, kind of dying. They needed some help, and so I think you want to go to a situation, if it's a new job, new conference, whatever the case is, when you're wanted. And I feel like BYU and the program is actually desirable and it's wanted. And you know, listening to a couple of blog writers that are just a part of the Big 12 and specific to Big 12 teams, they're really grateful for BYU. And, you know, we saw some of the numbers of how BYU impacted, you know, millions of dollars for each of the schools. So, yeah, I mean, BYU's in a good spot. The Pac-12 has no idea where it's going. There's no vision. And to be honest, you know, the commissioner that we have for the Big 12, I would almost want to follow him versus anything else, right? Because of how innovative he is, how forward-thinking, the vision, right?
And he has a TV deal,
right? Most important thing, right? And I mean, he's just getting things done, and you feel confident, you feel comfortable. I mean, you kind of feel excited too, right? Because it's like, I want to go to Mexico and play in a bowl game, or I want to, you know, have a bowl game overseas. Like this stuff is fun and it's exciting, and it's growing the conference in ways that I think the Pac-12 wouldn't even consider or couldn't even imagine.
There's going to be a lot more travel, obviously, and Stewart mentions that in his article. But USC going to the Big Ten trumps the whole concept that even matters to administrators. Right. We'll fly them all over the place. What? How much money? We'll fly our guys all over the place. When it wasn't that much, or there wasn't an option, our kids need to be in class. Right. You know, that changed with this, and so BYU going to West Virginia to play football this fall. It's not that big of a deal. Now, in the other sports where you're hopping around, you're playing a lot more games. We'll see how that goes. But when the when UCLA and USC told the Big Ten, you know what, we will travel to play Rutgers. That's in New York. We're in LA. It doesn't matter. Then it stopped mattering. Yeah. And timing is everything. Timing for BYU and the Big 12 has been perfect now. Yeah. Timing for anybody to join the Pac-12, like San Diego State or SMU, who are hoping to, that's a slippery slope. No one really knows what you're entering. Yeah. And so time is on BYU's side. And it hasn't always been, but it is right now. And Stewart's idea is one that's had validity for every year that BYU is in as an independent. Yeah. And the Pac-12 never came. And here, they never got on the ark. Now it's raining, and they're not sure what they're going to do.
It's funny. I'm happy you said timing, because every time I get down or a little bit sad, you know, because I want to have a wife, right? I want to get married. You always say timing is everything, and you lift my spirits up. So I I like that you said that. You brought that back up. That,
Thank you.
Timing is everything.
And timing is everything. Hang in there.
Thank you. I'll try. Actually, you know what? For any singles, ladies out there, my name is Brian Logan. I like long walks in the park. No, I'm just playing. Topic 2.
Stay focused.
Let's look at the Big 12 schedule. If you can guarantee one win for BYU this fall, which would it be? Initially,
this is a no-brainer, and then when you stare at the schedule like we are right at this moment, you start thinking, because there's so many big opportunities on this slate. And the country's going to be watching on a handful of them because of who they're playing and what that team's going to do. But I'm going to go with Texas because that's the no-brainer. And the last time BYU was at Texas, Blaine Fowler and I were down there on the sidelines covering it for BYU TV. I think there were 93,000 fans there at that night. Texas is the largest athletic budget in all of college football. It is the big fish in the league, even though it hasn't won the league for a while. Yeah. They'll be picked probably to win the league next in a couple of weeks when the poll comes out. But of all the teams, and if BYU's had a rocky year or what, but they go into Austin and they beat Texas because of plays like that right there that Texas thinks about all the time. When they think of BYU, they think of number 4. I just think that would be one cool night that trumps them all. What do you think?
I think so. Initially, when I thought about this, I wanted to say Arkansas, and just because of what happened last year, and you get a little bit more clout when you are beating an SEC team, right? And BYU's already in the Big 12 playing a tough P5 schedule, so to have a non-conference win, is from an SEC team is good. However,
I know where you're going.
Oklahoma, I gotta go with Oklahoma. One, obviously, I played against them
and beat them,
and beat them, and I know that feeling. It's the best feeling in the world.
What is that feeling?
It's the feeling of going to class on Monday and knowing you don't have to do homework.
Really, is that what happens?
Knowing you don't have to take any test. I'm just kind of sort of playing, but you're almost proud that, hey, this is a giant and a name brand giant that we knocked down. And it's when people talk to me and fans see me, they still talk to me about
this game
right here. And then obviously being a conference game is important as well.
What part of this game did you look into your opponent's eyes because you were in the secondary and you saw that they realized that they were going to get beat? Last possession? It was a 14-13 game.
I would say when we had the goal line stop. So it was
before taking the lead.
Yeah, so they were on the goal line. We stopped them in 3, and then on the 3rd down, I got a pass interference call.
Was it a good call?
No, it wasn't. No, it was horrible. It was horrible. Actually, when I came into the locker room after the game was over, all my text messages were saying, "It's not a PI. That's not a PI. Don't worry about it."
Sure. Listen to your friends.
Yeah, and so I go out and we call our goal line defense, and then we stop them 3 more times, and then they kick a field goal, right?
So you stopped them 6 times.
It was at that moment I believe they were like,
this isn't going to work
Skittles.
out. This isn't going to work out for us. And it didn't work out with a 14-13 BYU win. So our question for the day is this. If you could guarantee one win on the schedule, which would it be and why? Nathan Crook on Facebook. I got to say OU, agreeing with Bilo. They come to Provo for senior night, end of November, so it'll be a cold sellout. Would be amazing to finish the home season whooping up on the Sooners on November 18th at LES. What about Brian?
I hope it does snow. Brian, first of all, Brian Butts on Twitter, I appreciate your parents for naming you with an I instead of a Y. But he says Kansas, first Big 12 game. Okay. Plus, I'm going to be there. Blue goggle alert.
You know what? If you are going to a game, you want to walk out there with your head held high.
Of course.
I understand that.
Absolutely. And then he says, in addition, it will mean BYU will be 4-0 to start the season.
He gives a blue goggle alert there.
Absolutely. 4-0. If we're 4-0, we got to be ranked.
Absolutely.
Top 15, right?
You 4-0 with a win at Arkansas? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
you're
nobody's doing homework either.
Hey, continue to weigh in using hashtag BYUSN on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This is a fun question today, and we're eager to hear your responses.
It's the big party on July 1st as we join BYU Athletics to celebrate BYU joining the Big 12 Conference. Join the BYU Sports Nation game day crew and ourselves as we will have interviews with coaches and players live from the celebration. Tune in Saturday, July 1st from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern on BYU TV, BYU Radio, and the BYU TV app.
Up next, the voice of the Texas Tech Red Raiders. What does he think about BYU joining the Big 12? There he is. This is BYU Sports Nation.
Do you ever feel small?
3, 2, 1, go!
Have regrets? I guess we all have them. And trust. That's tough to earn or regain.
You are the winner of Survival!
Glad we're doing this.
Yeah, cause this is my moment.
Oh, yeah, we're live in Studio B on this Thursday, your day-to-day BYU Sports play-by-play, BYU Sports Nation, Dave McCann alongside Brian Logan. Brian Jensen, another Brian on the show, is in his 24th season as the play-by-play voice of the Texas Tech Red Raiders. He joins us from Lubbock this morning. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. Actually, I'm joining you from Dallas, which is where I live, but close enough.
It's in the same states. We were
Same
close.
state.
Well, welcome
That's right.
from Dallas. We'll be in Dallas here in a couple of weeks for the Big 12 meeting. So 24 seasons. Which of all the legendary play-by-play announcers have had the biggest impact on how you call a game?
Vern Lundquist, actually. He was a television sports broadcaster in Dallas when I was growing up. And then he called the Cowboy games for a while and went on to CBS and did the SEC, as you know, and got to know him a little bit. And his style and the way that he prepared was something that I always emulated and followed and hope to one day at least be able to say that I did just a little bit of some of the things that have made him such a great announcer.
Great football voice, but I think his golf voice is the best when he can just, talk down low and the birds are in the background. And I think he's on the 16th hole or 17th hole at Augusta every year.
16.
Yeah,
Yes.
Vern Lundquist.
Brian, I feel the same way about Uncle Dave here as far as, being most influential for me. So everything that you said, I just want to echo for him.
Thank you, Philo.
So thank you for setting that up for me, Brian. But moving into the Big 12 Conference, this is obviously an exciting time for us as fans. And a long time coming. How do you guys feel about BYU joining the Big 12?
Well, I think it's great. I think of all the schools and teams that are coming into the Big 12, BYU is #1 on the list. The national name, obviously, the great history, traditions, the beauty of the stadium out there. I mean, there are just so many things that I'm looking forward to, and I know many others are, to have BYU in the Big 12. So I think of all of them, of the 4 coming in, I don't think there's any question that BYU has jazzed people more than the other 3. No offense to the other 3. I'm sure it'll be great having them in as well, but BYU is the one.
There are a couple of things the Cougars and Red Raiders share in common. Number one is Mike Leach. He graduated from BYU in 1983. He's going to go into the Red Raiders Hall of Fame this fall for what he did with football. How important was Mike to the game of football, not just in Lubbock, but everywhere now in college football?
Well, he was huge in the game. I had the fortune of coming in to, when I started my play-by-play, was the year he started as head coach at Tech, and brought air raid, which was relatively new to college football, and the way he played it and the way he put it together, and the fact that he recruited athletes that were not 4 or 5 star. He didn't care about the stars. He cared about whether they would fit into his system, which was, again, one of the first times you really saw that in college football. He actually, in my opinion, changed college football more than just about any coach. You might look back at the Barry Switzer days. You might look back at the Wishbone days and think maybe that was the time, maybe the Ara Parseghian days. But I think Mike Leach is right up there too, because look now at not only all of the college football teams that are trying to throw the ball as much and go with a fast pace as much as they are now, but look at the 7-on-7 and all of the skill position guys now in high school football and all the high school teams that are playing that way. I think his coaching and the way he brought things about it, and the coaching tree that he has that has gone on to coach in college football, had huge impact.
I think you could take it all to the NFL as well, where it's less about running and more about trying to score 48 points and outscore the other guys. Who was most impactful at Texas Tech, Mike Leach or Bobby Knight for basketball?
That's a great question. Impactful. So Bob Knight really put Tech on the map as far as basketball was concerned. Tech had some good seasons, had some runs, but they hadn't landed somebody like a Bob Knight. Mike Leach was an unknown when he started, really, at Tech. And so the way he grew at Tech, and the fact that he, again, putting a stamp on college football, really did it while he was at Tech. He brought in a lot of celebrities that we never had that kind of attention before. So I would say that it's a very close race. I'm the football play-by-play guy, although I did television basketball play-by-play for Knight's television network at Tech. So I'm torn.
That's a tough question. Two legendary coaches.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, Leach because of BYU and the ties, and get a little bit extra followers.
Politics, and yeah. You can tell how well I play politics. The fact that we were suspended 2 years ago because we apparently got on the refs a little bit too hard, and the commissioner suspended us for a game.
Whoa. Interesting.
Your street cred went way up.
Right.
Because the fans were saying the same thing.
Absolutely. Brian, another unique tie is Lloyd Hill, who is in the Texas Tech Hall of Fame, and his son, Keanu, who's one of BYU's best receivers. How good was Lloyd when he played?
Well, he was great. He was the second All-American, first-team All-American for Tech as a receiver, first 1,000-yard receiver. And that was in a day with Spike Dykes as head coach. And, it was more of a, 3 yards in a cloud of dust or whatever the phrase was. I mean, he was more, his thought process was more behind running the football much more, throwing it when you needed to, more than throwing it and then running it when you needed to, like it is today. So with that in mind, I mean, Lloyd was, he was fantastic and one of the greats when you start looking at, the history of Tech and the Michael Crabtrees now and the Wes Welkers and the Danny Amendolas. Those receivers, all followed the greatness of Lloyd Hill.
Lloyd's going to be on our pregame show October 21st here in Provo. And it'll be the first time his son takes on the Red Raiders. What kind of day is that going to be for Lloyd? Is he going to wear a Texas Tech shirt, or does he come in with blue?
He'll probably have one of those that split right down the middle, with red on one side, blue on the other. At least if he's into politics, he will. I think it'll be a huge day for him. It'll be a great day for him. The fact that he's, so well known and well liked by Red Raider fans, and obviously with his son at BYU, I would imagine it's going to be a day where he's going to be a little bit torn, but typically you go with the blood, right? So I'm sure he'll really be proud with whatever his son does on the field that night, and it'll be exciting for him.
Utah is BYU's biggest rival, and I thought this question to myself: if my son grew up and played for Utah, and he played against BYU, I still wouldn't wear red. I would wear. I would support him. Obviously,
I don't believe that for a second.
Nope.
Come on.
I would look here, son. It's not personal. It's not personal at all.
Yeah. But you got to also realize we don't have the rivalry yet. Okay, maybe one day, if his son had gone to Texas,
it'd be different, huh?
I would be. Now I will say though, Trae Young, his father was a Red Raider, a great one, and Trae Young played basketball at OU, and I recall seeing Trae's dad in the stands, and I don't believe he was wearing our red. So I think it does go to the blood.
Roy Williams is going to have that same challenge. He's Keanu's uncle, and he told me he wears his BYU shirts around Texas because he's proud of his nephew. But his nephew's going to come to Memorial Stadium the week after the Texas Tech game, and then he'll have to deal with that dilemma as well.
And I love that you picked that would be the one that you would like to see sure win. So would I. I'd love for you guys to go down there and knock them off before we head down there.
Does everybody in the league, and hate's a strong word, but I'm going to use it anyway, do they just hate Texas? Even though Texas hasn't won the league forever, is that still the standard bearer?
Absolutely. Texas, and it used to be an A&M because they're the two big dollar universities in Texas, and they walk that walk. Okay. Well, let me rephrase that. They talk that talk. And so, yeah, I think you ask anybody in the Big 12, what's the one team that you would love to knock off and put them in their place? It's Texas.
So when Texas and Oklahoma leave after next season, who becomes the top dog? Or is every year going to be, like Lavelle Edwards' favorite phrase, a crapshoot as to who's going to win it?
That is so interesting to see what's going to happen. I think you're going to see a little bit of parity at first, but it is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for a school, a team to kind of jump in there and take over at this time. You're seeing recruiting battles right now at a little different level, I think, than you've even seen before in the Big 12, not going up against the Texas and the OUs, but up against everybody else in the race to try to see who can get the best team put together for those first couple of years of the Big 12 without Texas and Oklahoma. And the team or the teams that jump up there, we're going to have a head start on keeping that recruiting battle going. And I think it'll be interesting to see which ones they are. We certainly obviously hope that Tech is in that conversation, expect them to be. TCU probably believes that they are, especially now having gone to the national championship game last year. Kansas State is a team that is always, up there in the Big 12, even with Texas and Oklahoma, and with BYU coming in and, some of the others. It's going to be really cool to watch that. I think that's going to be one of the most fun things about the new Big 12.
So Brian, with the preseason conference polls being released here in a couple of weeks, where do you see Texas Tech falling in at? Well,
this is going to sound a little bit like sour grapes, but Tech rarely gets very good attention in polls, in preseason polls. I would think that we would be top third with the recruiting that we've had and with the players coming back, with a quarterback that is 8-1 as a starter, 8-0 as a starter when he finishes games, and a super senior. I think with Tyler Shuck leading the way with our receiving core, the defense coming back, the number of players that are coming back, I just really think that Tech should be in that top third, but I would probably think that the poll will probably put them at about middle of the pack or just below, because that's typically what they do.
Brian Jensen, play-by-play voice of the Red Raiders on BYU Sports Nation. Conference expansion is a conversation that just won't seem to go away. Do you think before the end of the summer the Big 12 will have a couple of new members? And what do you forecast for the Pac-12?
Wow. Before the end of the summer. I don't think before the end of the summer, but I do think within the next 6 months or so, I think there will be a little bit more expansion in the Big 12. I do think that the Pac-12 is going to get raided. And I wouldn't think that they'd be able to survive it, but it has been really strange, as you well know, strange couple of years and the way things are shuffling around, and it isn't over yet. So, gosh, if I could throw a dart and hit the right answer, I think it would be more coming in the next 6 months. But I don't know about the Pac-12.
Texas Tech's coming in the next handful of months, October 21st. What are you looking most forward to coming to Provo?
Well, I'm really looking forward to the stadium, seeing I've seen it on television so many times, and it looks just fantastic, beautiful. I'm looking forward to seeing the area. Have never been to Provo, and have been to Salt Lake, but really looking forward to walking around campus and, finding out what some of your best places to have a Friday night meal are, because, again, as you know, that's kind of the thing when you're on the road, is the crew likes to get together and find a nice local place that we can enjoy and tell everybody about when we get home.
Now, just remember, the altitude sometimes affects the players on the field. You'll be sitting a lot higher than the players on the field, so you need to pace yourself for the full 4 quarters here in the Rocky Mountains. But we sure welcome you here. We look forward to meeting you, and we thank you for your time this morning. And we'll see you in Dallas here in a few weeks.
I think I'll sleep in an oxygen chamber before I get there, but thank you. It's been fun.
Brian Jensen, voice of the Red Raiders, thank you, and we'll see you down the road. There was some great insight from a guy who's been in the Big 12 for so long, to kind of cast a little bit of what BYU's getting into. And once he started dropping names and of the Red Raiders, they're going to be very tough to beat this year.
Yeah, when he was going over just some of the stats and the storylines of the returners and the quarterback going 8-0, I got a little nervous. A lot of bit nervous.
You're nervous every week.
I got more nervous than what I was. But what I'm not nervous for is the Y Awards.
Yeah.
You could join us as we honor the best and brightest within BYU athletics. Over the last year, you can watch or listen tomorrow at noon Eastern on BYU TV and BYU Radio.
NFL Draft is tonight. Danny Ainge was drafted 42 years ago by the Boston Celtics. What was he doing when he got the call? This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
If you're looking to build your brand awareness and increase market share as BYU moves into the Big 12, this is the place, BYU Athletics. We can provide the tools you need to make sure your company is seen and heard. BYU Athletics is where you can align your products and services with loyal fans that cheer for our Cougars. And they can also help your business win. Learn more about what a partnership with BYU Athletics and your company will look like. After all, this is the place. Email sponsorship at byu.edu today.
When my grandfather started this company in 1947, he couldn't have envisioned what we would ultimately become. We realized that our value to our customers is that we will be there day after day, year after year, doing whatever we need to find solutions to the challenges that they face. We are committed to be honestly better in all that we do. in every opportunity that we have to serve our customers.
Hey family, if you're looking for something new to watch, stop scrolling and start streaming. BYU TV has a ton of great options to binge together. From bold adventure to family drama and even a little fun, there's something for everyone. Binge entire series, experience all the feels, immerse in non-stop intrigue, and treat yourself to unexpected turns. Think you know BYU TV? We're just getting started.
Follow BYU Sports Nation on social media for content throughout the day. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok.
Follow us all Thursday. Like all
Snapchat. Maybe if it was Snapchat, maybe Pinterest.
You get some recipes.
I think voting would be a little bit different.
It's just mine. Brian Logan, Dave McCann, Studio B. It's good to have you with us. Let's get to some headlines.
BYU women's basketball was ranked as having the 12th best transfer portal class in college basketball, according to 24/7 Sports.
Number 12.
BYU was ranked first among Big 12 teams.
That's number 1.
That's right.
They're doing a great job. We'll have more on that in the whip. Big 12 announcing today that BYU men's basketball coach Mark Pope and women's head coach Amber Whiting will be 2 of the 11 Big 12 coaches that will be helping youth clinics in New York City at Rucker Park. We got a lot of Cougar Nation in New York. Find Rucker Park as part of Big 12 Hoops in the Park on Tuesday, July 18th.
Daniel Schneemann had 2 hits yesterday for the Guardians AAA affiliate Columbus Clippers. Schneemann is batting .309 over the last 2 months.
He's having a great season. Those are today's headlines. Now let's whip it. Cougar Whip Around is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner. What do you got?
As mentioned in the headlines, women's basketball was ranked as having the 12th best transfer portal class, according to 24/7 Sports. As part of the transfer portal class was returning star forward Lauren Gustin, bringing in Oregon transfer and former top 40 recruit Jenna Isa and Boston University transfer Lauren Davenport. How impressive has Amber Whiting's staff been when it comes to recruiting?
It's been unprecedented in the history of the women's basketball program. And they've had some really, really good players. Yeah. But as of the other night, they picked up their third 4-star player to go along with Amari Whiting and Jenna Sai. That's never happened before. And then the talent around them's pretty good too. Amber Whiting's going places.
I wonder if there's some NIL deals associated with
Well, I don't know. But whatever it is, it's working for the BYU women's program. Pro Football Focus ranked the 49ers as having the best linebacking core in the NFL, highlighted by Fred Warner, who many consider to be the single best linebacker in the NFL. We certainly do. What are your expectations for Fred this season?
To be a top linebacker like he's been the last couple of years, but also to lead his defense, right? So to be a top linebacker, to perform on one of the top defenses in the NFL, and I would say actually make it to the Super Bowl. When you have a running back as your 4th-string quarterback, it's hard to win games, no matter how good you are on the defensive side. So that's my expectations for Fred more than anybody else is way high.
You know what I love about Fred is whenever the Cougars are in the area, football, basketball, softball, volleyball, whatever, he finds a way to get there because he's all in with BYU, and BYU fans are all in with Fred Warner at linebacker.
Absolutely. ESPN's Myron Metcalf listed the best 25 college basketball players of the last 25 years. He had BYU's Jimmer Fredette at 24th on that list. Should Jimmer be higher?
24 in the last 25 years? You know, anyone who watched Jimmer, he was different. Certainly the National Player of the Year that year for him. It was a lottery pick going into the NBA, but he was unstoppable. And should he be higher than 24? Probably. I don't know what the number is because there were so many good players over the last 25 years. Yeah. But with Jimmer with the ball in his hands, as we saw, Kawhi Leonard and all those guys couldn't stop him.
Right. Yeah. I think he's got to be higher.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmer mania, right? Like,
yeah. It's going to be international when he takes that 3-on-3 group over to the Olympics.
Look. When Lil Wayne drops, your name in a song of his, you've made it, right? So you've got to be hired just for
You're
that.
saying Lil Wayne should have him up top 15?
Top 15, absolutely.
NBA draft is tonight. We're going to stick with Jimmer. He was the last BYU player taken in the draft back in 2011. And now that the Cougars are in the Big 12, do you expect the program to have players drafted frequently, certainly more frequently than every 12 years as we move forward? Remember, there's just 2 rounds. That makes it a little tough.
Can I plead the fifth?
That tells me we got a ways to go.
Can I plead the fifth?
Got a ways to go.
I don't think so. It's hard to say. I don't think so.
We'll see what happens because the Big 12 is going to require a talent increase.
Yeah.
And Mark Pope and his staff's been busy getting ready for the first year. We'll just see, but there's the possibility, sure, because it's a program in a league that is front and center with America. And you get a guy whose light comes on, there you go.
I would rather players make it in the NBA and stay long and have good long careers like football versus getting drafted. So that's just, I think BYU, over time can do that, especially like you said, by default, the talent level is going to increase because of the Big 12 and recruiting. Staying on the theme of the NBA and the NBA draft, 42 years ago, the Boston Celtics drafted Danny Ainge while he was playing shortstop for the Toronto Blue Jays against the Chicago White Sox.
The day he was drafted, he's playing for the Blue Jays.
He went 0 for 3 with an error. Do you think his mind could have been somewhere else?
You think? I mean, it's hard enough. Anyone who plays baseball will tell you the hardest thing in the world is to hit a baseball that's thrown at you 100 miles an hour. It might curve, it might do a changeup, might come in as a high heater.
Right.
And then you're out at shortstop in the big leagues. If you're the least bit distracted, it's hard to do that. So you're doing that, and the Celtics just drafted you in the second round of the NBA draft, and your heart is saying, I'm really good at basketball.
Right.
Do you think I want to do that?
Do you think if it was nowadays, like currently, he had like a cell phone or maybe like an Apple Watch to get notified?
I think there'd be so many solidified contracts that it wouldn't even be able to happen. Because remember, there was a legal battle then between the Celtics and the Blue Jays. And the Celtics eventually won, not right away, but it took some time. And then Ainge joined the team while the season was on, and then the rest is history.
Yeah, true.
What a day 42 years ago.
Join BYU football head coach Kalani Sitake and BYU student athlete speakers for a special athletics devotional at the Merit Center this Sunday night. You can attend in person or watch it at 8 Eastern on BYU TV.
Our big contest continues. The results first of yesterday's best win between 1984 Michigan and 2009 Oklahoma, and a matchup today that just might have you scratching your head. This is BYU Sports Nation.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Maersk, your e-commerce logistics shipping partner.
BYU Food to Go's convenient location at 2191 North Canyon Road in Provo makes bringing popular BYU foods to your next event easy. Everything's ready when you need it at the drive and load pickup. You drive in and they load no matter the weather. And stop in the on-site creamery for great BYU chocolate milk and ice cream. BYU Food to Go, bringing campus to your table. Call for details, 801-422-5001.
This is where we dominate. Our playground, place of business. This is our promised land, where we seek to find ourselves. And we're here to make sure the spaces our best prove themselves on appear how they should. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics.
why terrible things happen to us sometimes. But I have to believe that something good is gonna come out of this.
Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. Dave McCann, Brian Logan. Jerem's out today. I don't even know where Spencer is this week. Maybe the Himalayas. I don't know, but he's enjoying some downtime. That's what summer's for, so it gives us a chance to hang out. So, as you know, we've been having this contest, matching the best wins in BYU history up against each other, and everyone votes, and then the winner moves on. The bracket's been pretty interesting. We started with 16. We're whittling it down. Next week's the Final Four. I know you're unhappy with how the matchup of the day yesterday went. We had the 1984 national champs beating Michigan, and then we had Belo's win against Oklahoma in 2009, which was impressive. I'll be honest. Oklahoma was ranked number 3 in the country. Michigan wasn't ranked. They're in the middle of the Big Ten when BYU beat them in '84. But as Robbie Bosco pointed out yesterday, that was the game that gave BYU the national championship. He predicted a 75-25 vote. And it was 84-16. So there was your vote and then a couple of your friends. And then everyone else voted for 84. So 84 moves on.
You know, it would be a different story if that game was the actual national, championship game. Like if both teams were playing for it.
No, it wouldn't.
That would make a lot more sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Only one team was invested, so
yes, it was.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do know.
Funny story with Robbie Bosco. So I met him my junior year.
Yeah.
And talked to him a couple times here and there. And 2010 comes along, and we have the top BYU quarterbacks come for the Washington game, right?
Right.
So so we have Steve Young. All the legendary quarterbacks are there, and I see Robbie Bosco up there, and I tap Brandon Bradley. I'm like, Brandon, what's the academic counselor doing up there? And he goes, it's Robbie. He won a championship. I was like, that's Robbie? And he was like, man, come here. Turn around and smack you inside your head. But
so when you met Robbie, did he say, hey, I just want you to know your win over Oklahoma is bigger than our national championship game? I don't think so.
No.
And neither did the voters.
I'm going to talk to him about that.
Yeah. Let's move on to today's matchup. It's another good one.
Did he get it? I don't think so.
Big run. Got it. They worked it.
Touchdown, Gunnar Romney.
McCann going for the end zone.
Fires goes incomplete.
Who has the ball?
Today's matchup features the 6 seed 2021 win over Utah and the 3 seed 1980 Miracle Bowl against SMU. Let's start with 2021 Utah. BYU entered the game having lost 9 games straight to Utah. I was on the last team that beat Utah prior to 2009.
Thank you.
Utah ranked number 21. And what made this game special is it was a day before BYU had accepted the invite to the Big 12. Defense forced 2 fumbles and got a fourth down stop. Jaron Hall, 149 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 92 rushing yards.
Look at Kalani.
Dancing and having fun as always. BYU ran for 219 yards and controlled the line of scrimmage. Former Ute wide receiver Samson Nakua caught a touchdown pass for BYU right before halftime. And BYU ends up winning 26-17.
Some cool footnotes from that game for Nakua, and I sat down and did an interview with him on game day leading up to kickoff. And he said he'd promised his ailing grandmother he'd catch a touchdown against Utah in Lavelle Edwards Stadium for BYU, and he did, and she passed away a short time after that, but she got that night. And then it was also good to see Puka and Samson together, 2 highly sought-after players in the state of Utah, went elsewhere out of the gate, came back, reunited. One of their dads, their late father's wishes for them to play together at BYU. They beat Utah in just the way they did it, and I'll still never forget, it wasn't in this clip, that it's the first time in program history that 2 brothers got the same unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for taking their helmets off and celebrating after that touchdown by Samson. And then the official turns his mic on, and unsportsmanlike on whatever Samson's number was, number whatever Puka was number 12. What was Samson?
I think
40. So he was number 45 and number 12. And I just thought, that's the coolest penalty.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I couldn't be mad at that. If I'm a coach, you know, I like the fire, I like the passion. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, you'll run some sprints, you know, on Monday.
Yeah, he caught some, but great energy from the Nakuas on that big night. Now let's roll out one of the big boys after we've celebrated the Utah game. 1980 Holiday Bowl. Cougars 11-1. They're number 14. SMU 8-3, ranked number 19. They're bugged because they thought they should have been in a better bowl. They had the Pony Express, Craig James, Eric Dickerson. They ran up a 45-25 lead with under 4 minutes to go. You're watching the comeback. Bill Shefflin with the block. Visika Hema had a punt return earlier. And then the big one right here, Jim McMahon to Clay Brown as time expires. The receivers were there, defenders were there. You know the rest of the call. BYU kicks the extra point, and they win it 46-45. First bowl win in program history. And you see some of the numbers there. Jim McMahon told us a great story last summer. Many have heard it before. When he was one of our guests in game day, and he said that his dad, he still tells people the story that it took two Catholics, Clay Brown and Jim McMahon, to get BYU their first bowl game, and Lavelle stopped him and said, well, actually, two Catholics tied the game. My return missionary came out and kicked the extra point and won the game. And so what a night that was. And here we go. The win over the Utes in 21 or the Miracle Bowl of 1980. Make sure to vote on BYU Sports Nation Twitter page. Bilo, what's your early vote?
Utah will get that one.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think so. There's so much different emotion,
that would be an upset.
Energy and vibe from that game. I mean, that weekend. I was proud. I think everybody was proud to be a Cougar at that moment, right? I can't say back in the day when.
Were you even born in 1980?
Nope, I was born in '88.
Yeah, so let me just tell you, I was proud to be a Cougar on that night, 1980, at my Deacon's Corn Party. Big matchups. So cast your vote, and next week, the winner of that one's going to move on into the Final Four, and then we're going to have some white knucklers.
Yeah.
But that's a good one.
Coming up on Monday, Jerem Jordan, David Nixon, Kristen Koslowski, and Tyler Hall sit down to discuss the challenges and excitement surrounding BYU's move to the Big 12. On July 1st, it's a Big 12 roundtable on Monday, June 26th at noon Eastern on BYU TV and BYU Radio.
I like to see David Nixon there. After further review, debuts July 25th. That's just around the corner on BYU TV. Coming up next, a rise and shout from a world away. This is BYU Sports Nation.
BYU Sports Nation is presented by the BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
Utah is a special place. Our communities, the people, the history, there is no place quite like Utah. At Siegfried and Jensen, we're honored to say that we are from Utah. We live here, work here, and when someone is injured, we're proud to say we've helped a neighbor when they've needed it most. We know Utah. At Siegfried and Jensen, we're here for you.
Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com.
Mark? Some of my favorite moments are hearing from the family room, just a chorus of laughter.
'Twas your mother's.
BYU TV has been an escape and a refuge for me. We forgot about random acts. We love that one.
Today we wanted to do something nice for you.
I see that change on him after that show.
It just brightened everybody's day.
I can do this.
I want to live my life in a way that show showed me.
He knows that he's different. He knows that things are hard for him.
Taking the leg was how we could save her life.
I think God put the animals in our path, and I think it is up to us to care for them.
It's like dream come true kind of stuff.
Good job, buddy. You've completed her life.
He loves it so much.
There are happy endings to tragic situations.
This portion of BYU Sports Nation is presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics.
BYU Sports Nation is on demand. Download the free BYU TV and BYU radio apps, or listen to the podcast, subscribe, rate, and review the show.
I love today's question of the day. If you could guarantee one win on the schedule, which would it be and why? Speaking of football and speaking of this fall, Chris_running_adventures on Instagram. Arkansas comes right up with Arkansas. A win there would boost the confidence. You know what? They're right. Considering what happened last year to go into SEC country, win that, and now you're in the top 25, heading into Kansas.
I was close. I was right there with him, but we got to get some conference wins. So good. I mean, still good choice. Troy Russell on Twitter: Texas on the road, currently highest ranked team. Will be on the road. Will be the largest crowd, and will be the most watched game across the country. BYU will play in this year.
I'm curious where Fox or ESPN puts that game. They haven't announced the TV times. Will it be prime time or will it be in the afternoon? You know, I spent 2 years down there in Austin. Prime time's better because it's cooler.
Right.
You know, no matter what time of year it seems.
Right.
And this will be October. We'll keep you posted on that one. That is a big one. Jake Lassou on Facebook. TCU, because I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they were in the national championship last year. They were also a conference mate before and would be an awesome pickup after so many years with a W. You're right, TCU lost a lot of guys, but they're built. Yeah. They're built to get to the championship game, so you know they're going to be rebuilt. And the Cougs going down to Fort Worth. All right, in response to our elite voice of the day, presented by PAX Healthcare Elevated, Dan Snow, I like this one. He writes this on Facebook. Our bowl game is the one that he wants a guarantee in because it means we've qualified for a bowl in a season where most national writers have blown us off. We'd also have at least 7 wins. How about that?
Yeah, that I didn't think about that one. That's a good one.
The bowl game
I would like to take back mine and say the bowl game as well.
Like the Pop-Tart Bowl or the Texas Bowl would take any kind of bowl. Raisin Bowl, whatever.
Is there a fruit snack bowl, like a Gusher bowl?
Not yet, but it's coming. Today's Rise and Shout-Outs presented by Mountain America, the official credit union of BYU Athletics. We've said on this show many times before, Mark Pope will go anywhere to find basketball players to play at BYU. And here he is over in Egypt with Ali Khalifa, the new big man coming to the Cougars through the transfer portal with his family and out on the water. Great to see the coach. Now, the coach, by the way, is he's 6'10".
Man, all right, I'm looking at him. And golly.
That's the best picture of the day right there. That's what's coming.
Absolutely.
We thank our guest, Brian Jensen, voice of the Red Raiders.
The conversation continues 24/7 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. This is and all of our shows are on demand on BYUSN.com.
For Brian, I'm Dave. A shout out to Danny Ainge on the night of the NBA draft. He's got a lot of work to do with the Utah Jazz. See you tomorrow for the 2023 Y Awards on BYU TV.